Hi, my name is Austin Harris, and this is my ninth creativity journal log. This week was pretty intense because we're kind of on the down decline for the semester as far as classes are going, and you can really see things heating up as far as people not really coming to class, and you can just really see how not being on top of things in this class can really be detrimental. And staying on top of things, Professor Venegas even talked to us about how that applies in real life and being on top of things and making good choices. We talked about grants as an example. Making sure you get what you say you're going to get done on time and doing the right things. And so that's just a little bit of motivation that we got this week, and I thought I would hit that on my video as well. I want to talk a little bit about the first thing we mentioned, which is heroes and role models, and why that's important. It was, talking about communication today. We talked about communication and how communication is an endangered species. The way we communicate today is so simple and so stupid, and it really has no depth to it. We talk about we'll be having a conversation. Somebody will say, "Oh, that's cool. Oh, hey, that's really neat." There's really no. It's all surface level conversations these days, and I agree with this completely. I think that before Professor Venegas said this, I already felt the same way. Actually, I feel like it is rare that you find somebody that you can have a legitimate conversation with and both be completely interested in whatever you're learning, whatever you're talking about. I think it's pretty important that we focus on what legitimate communication is these days, and what should be. And we also talked about an elevator speech or whatever. If you had 20 seconds to talk to your role model or somebody that you look up to, hero, whatever, what would you say to them? Would you, say something stupid like, "Oh, hey, this is really cool that you did this"? I mean, if I'm talking to Johnny Manziel, he's not my role model or my hero at all, but I would say that, if I had 20 seconds to talk to him, I wouldn't say, "Oh, hey, something you did was cool." I would have something a lot more surface, like a lot deeper than surface level conversation. I would ask him about his essay that he just wrote and why, what, something about him, personally. Um, is football still fun for you? Something or something maybe not even related to football. I mean, I'm just. It's hard to put myself in those shoes because I'm not really a surface level person anyway. I like to have real conversations, and if it's not a real conversation, I have no interest in talking. Um, we talked about you have to disconnect to connect. We are so into computers and electronics. I can't people can't express enough. People cannot have a conversation without their phone in their hand. If somebody starts texting somebody in the middle of having a conversation with me, I just stop talking and walk away because I just have no interest. And if you so whatever you're doing is more important than talking to me, it says something to me, and I take that offensively. I mean, I'm offended by that. Um, and I think that is so common today. You can't even be at the dinner table having dinner with your family without having your phone there on the table so you can see if somebody sends you a text message. That's ridiculous. So ridiculous. And it's something that is pretty consistent with all people our age today. So, um, we talked about a picture is worth 1,000 words. We talked about the kid that submitted a project at the end of the year that was, he got a on the project, but he had tried to submit pictures and was trying to be funny, but the creativity gave him a foot forward, and I thought that was pretty cool that Professor mentioned that. And I mean, anything that gets you a foot ahead is worth doing. But he also wrote the essay too. It's not like he just submitted the picture like I originally had understood. But another question is, what makes a good message stick? What makes a conversation stick with a person? If I'm talking to somebody, is it going to be the surface level conversation? No, it's not. It's going to be the deep conversation that I have with somebody that they're going to remember, and they're going to say, hey, that was real. I like that, and I want to spend more time around that person because that's the kind of communication I desire. God's greatest gifts are sometimes unanswered prayers. I think this is one of my it's one of my favorite quotes ever. And it's from a song. That's what the quote is, and I think that's pretty important to me, and that's a message that sticks with me because so many times in my life have I encountered things that I had prayed for. Being a religious person, I want certain things to happen. I pray for certain things, and sometimes when it doesn't work out, I think it's just because I blame it on certain things, and sometimes it's better that things don't happen the way you want them to. Sometimes it may be working out in your favor and you just don't even know it. Wow statements and 2 to 3 minute sporting themes and examples and everything like that go a long way in a conversation. If you're having a conversation about football with somebody and you're talking about rankings, or you're talking about playoffs, or you're talking about national championships or Heisman trophies, it helps to have some, know something about the topic and be able to provide facts into a conversation, and that really, takes it somewhere, and the person wants to talk to you because they think you are knowledgeable about a topic, and you'd be surprised how attractive that is for people to, be knowledgeable about things. We talk about different generations have different interests and there are different issues. We talked about Aggies that there was just a awards banquet for people class 48, 52. It's different because there are people that went to war in the middle of their college experience, where now today it's a big deal if we have somebody on, I don't know, just pick an example, something kind of minor that's a disruption that everybody makes a big deal about. Well, hey, they had a world war that they had to go do in the middle of their education. So, that's a wow. And we this week we did a experiment. It was more of an example, and Professor Venegas had all of us close our eyes, take out a piece of paper, and he gave us instructions on how to fold and cut this piece of paper. But what he was trying to do is see if we would all do it the same way based off instructions. And the thing is that if we do it differently and we have a different outcome, is it wrong? No, that's not wrong. Just people do things differently, and it is still successful, and it's still the same thing either way. When you're working with your brain, don't forget to use your heart. I think it's pretty important today because you look at CEOs, you look at big people in companies, and they get so wrapped up in being a professional and being a good CEO and all these things like that, and you forget to use your heart. I feel like your relationship with your coworkers and your family and everything like that should never take a hit based off of work. There was a story that I had somebody tell me in one of my business classes about somebody that was a investor for a banking company, and it's pretty interesting because one of the guys that he had worked with missed the birth of his child because he was working so late and was working 80-hour weeks, basically never going home, and he missed the birth of his child. And that's the thing is, while working with your brain, don't forget to use your heart. You need to know what's important to you. You need to make sure you make that clear to everyone you're around, because you never know when your last day is going to be. A quote that I heard at the beginning of the year from Professor Venegas, but he said it again, and I wanted to reiterate it again just because I think it's a great quote, is people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. I think this goes 2 and 2 with what I just said about working with your heart or not forgetting to use your heart in the daily things that you do. Back to the electronics thing, putting electronics away, and this is imperative. Communication is becoming extinct. It's just not something that people really know how to do anymore, and it's pretty sad. The power of emotion, credibility, creativity, consistency, and opportunity are so important. We know that When somebody is emotional about something, they're going to put their entire, they're going to invest everything in it. Creativity, consistency, opportunity. Something from one of the other lectures about opportunity is you can't wait for it to come knocking on your door because you're going to miss out on success because of that. You have to create opportunities, and therefore success will come too. Audience, it is important to be aware of your audience, organization, headline, what do you say, add detail, and offer success story. I think that's important when communicating with people, and never forget that, because that'll definitely make whatever you're saying more powerful, and it'll make it something that they'll remember too. 2 traps to avoid. We talk about some quotes, and this is the whole thing about using your heart, and this is kind of how things have become in our world today, which is pretty sad. A quote by Stalin says, "A single death is a tragedy. A million is a statistic." That hits me because we have little things around the world. I say little things, tragedies around the world, where somebody is a mass shooting and there's 13 people that die, something like that happens. But we have a war in Iraq, and we have tons of people dying from our military and other military, and that's a statistic. You don't hear about the people that die over there, and I think it's weird. Why is it that way? Why is it that we choose to freak out about the tragedies, quote unquote, and it's different for a small number of people to die than people that in a larger number. I think that's kind of a weird thing, a weird quote, and I think it's a very true quote too, and I think that's pretty sad. Also, an example, if the only thing the world sees about A&M is football, then is our reputation of A&M, is that a good reputation of us? No. Is football why we go to Texas A&M? Is that why I chose this university? Is this why I wanted to be an Aggie for the rest of my life, because they have a good football team right now currently? No. No, that's a joke. If you go to school to have a good football team, to be on a good football team, or not necessarily be on a good football team, but go to a school that has a good football team, that's absurd. What I love about the Aggie family is that I will always be an Aggie. I love the fact that people come back and it's like they never missed a beat. I like the fact that our school is known for academics, and I know that every single person that goes here and gets a degree from here earned it and went through the same things that I went through, and that means a lot to me. Not about football or anything along those lines. To sum up this week, communication is really important, and that's why I'm majoring in it. I think it's pretty important that people learn this extinct, endangered species, quote unquote, known as communication, because it's something that everyone's going to have to do no matter what your job is. I think that how we act in our relationships with everyone around us will directly affect our jobs, our happiness in our workplace, and more importantly, our happiness in life. Thanks.